All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about Spirit Airlines and what my experience has been with them. And first of all, I'm going to tell you guys that most of the time when I'm flying across the country, I usually fly first class, and it's expensive, but there's times when I can pay for that. My business does something really profitable, but you might be wondering why the hell is he making a video on Spirit Airlines? I'm going to tell you why. There's some good points and some bad points. I actually use Spirit Airlines sometimes, because my budgets can be really tight, and I have to do things to make that work out. So this might help some of you guys that are trying to save money on a flight. Whether or not you can fly first class, I mean, it's great when you can do it, and you can afford that, $1,200 round trip flight, or sometimes it's as little as I've paid as little as like $600 for a round trip flight, to like from California to Florida. So it just depends, and that's first class. So, but with that's because I have advanced booking time and all that other stuff. But this is where Spirit can really shine, and some of the things you're going to have to put up with to fly with them are a little bit uncomfortable, I'm going to tell you, and a little bit different. So if you've never flown with Spirit, make sure 100% make sure you go to their website and read everything way before you actually take the flight. And usually what I'll do is I'll go there, and I would say is book your flight on their website. Don't book it on third party booking. If you book it on their website, it's much easier to know what you're getting. So there are some good things and some bad things to that. One thing is the flight is super cheap, and if you do it right, if you do all this stuff right, you can get a flight so cheap that you really can't compare it to anything else, especially short notice. So if you've got to fly somewhere today, you got to fly somewhere tomorrow, they're really, really cheap for that compared to anybody else. So let's just talk about them again. So some of the pros and cons, and really if you don't do it right, you can get taken advantage of. I used a different word written right here. But I put that in a video before and got it demonetized. So, but I wanted to make sure that we get this information out there again. So one of the issues that I've seen a lot of people object to is the seat comfort. They say it doesn't have any padding. Well, I'm 6'3". One of the reasons I fly first class is because I need that extra leg room, and I need that extra, what I'll tell you about this and how this works out. I kind of drew a seat, terrible, that's the top, that's the head padding, and you notice how the seats kind of curve right here, and then they go down a little bit and then go under. Well, the seats on Spirit Airlines do not recline. So, that's one of the things you need to know in advance before you book a flight with them, is the seats don't recline. So they are called self-reclining seats. So they actually have a little bit steeper of an angle here where my finger is. It's a little bit more of an angle on this part of the seat than the normal seat is. So it actually leans back just very slightly. And I'd say it's better than sitting in a seat straight up. So if you're in an airline where you get one of those seats, the cheap seats, and it's one that doesn't recline, it might be more comfortable than that. However, the padding on the seat is quite a bit less. Anybody's flown, make sure you comment on that. Tell people about the type of seat and the padding and how it was for you. For me, I did not find it to be terribly uncomfortable. Some people found it to be uncomfortable. I didn't find it to be comfortable because what happens is right here, up at this part where it goes before the headrest, most of the seats that I've sat in before, this from right here, maybe I can put a pause right now. Hang on one second. So one of the things I found on the Spirit Airlines is the seats. The seats between this point here and this point here seem like they're a little bit longer, because what happens with me when I normally on any other airline is my shoulders end up above this portion where it turns, and so it makes me even feel like I'm sitting more forward with most of the seats that are out there. And it seemed like Spirit Airlines had a little, because maybe it had less padding, my shoulders were not up into this area of the seat, so I wasn't pushing myself forward. So I actually got one of those seats that came with a seat package on airline on one time, and I also got the big front seat on another, because it's very cheap, guys. It's very cheap. If you really want a comfortable seat, the big front seats are very cheap. So, but it even the seat that I got, which was in a bag package, it actually was more comfortable to me than the other airlines because it didn't have as much padding, and it also made my shoulders lower in the seat, so they were like right here versus being above that, right up in here where it pushes me forward. So for a tall person, it seemed to be more comfortable for me. But I can see how somebody would complain about the seat not being very well padded. So the other thing that I wanted to go over is no padding versus padding. So that's what that about. Short notice booking is, with these guys, the change fees and the short notice bookings are absolutely amazing. You got to go to their website. You got to read the fine print on that stuff because it's really, really amazing. If you've got a flight and you have to change it, let's say you go to American Airlines or you go to Delta or whatever. I usually fly Delta, but a lot of times I get American and I get some others. I've done Air Canada, where it depends on where I'm going. But what happens is you get this short notice, but you get a seat, and then what happens is you have to change your itinerary. Like you have to fly out a day early or a day later or something like that. Well, the change fee is ridiculous on any of the other airlines. With Spirit Airlines, it's actually, I believe it was like nothing to change the seat, but you had to pay additional for the flight. It depended on the different flight you got. In fact, I had to I had to go from, for instance, I was going to fly, I flew into, where was it? Maryland, where's that big city? Baltimore, and then I was going to round trip out of Baltimore. Well, I ended up being done with my work in Richmond, Virginia. So I was like, well, shoot, I have to drive all the way back to Baltimore. Well, my rental car, I use dollar rent a car, and they have a flat rate for just dropping it at a different airport, like $69 or something like that. So I use them all the time, and that's why. So I was at the wrong airport, and I turned my car in over there. I called Spirit because their website was down. And I said, listen, how much is it to change flight to this airport? And they were like, $200. It was like, oh my God, and flew out within 2 hours of the time that I did that. Any other airline, that would have been $3,000 or $4,000. So these are some of the things you need to really look into with Spirit. That's how you can save money with them. But to do that, you're going to have to go through some hoops. You're going to have to look at all the stuff. You're going to have to read the stuff on their website, get to know it really well, because there is a lot of hidden fees that you don't know about. So the short notice booking is really good. They do have additional things for the large front seats. So if you're uncomfortable in one of those seats, or if you're a large person, if you're very wide, okay, for like an extra $25 or something like that, you can get a big front seat if they're available. And those big front seats are very wide. There's only two. It's 2 and 2 instead of 3 and 3. And it's actually would be, I would say, if you're a big person, it's really a requirement. I don't think you're going to fit in these small seats. The seats they're about 2 inches more narrow than the regular seat. Keep that in mind. That's another thing to know. So if you get the large front seat, though, there's lots of room. It's like a first class seat, but it doesn't recline. So it's really, it's not a bad, as far as comfort goes, it's actually pretty good. There is no first class on the plane. The food on the plane is crap. Typically it's snack foods. I mean, if you're a beer drinker, you can get a beer package. You're getting beer or wine, and their wine screw cap stuff. It's garbage. When I'm on first class, that's one thing I enjoy about the first class, that you get a different wine selection than you do in the back of the plane. Just so you know, if you ever fly first class, it's totally different. The food's different. Everything else is different. But with Spirit Airlines, they have like screw cap wine. They have the cheap beer, and I think the best they have is Heineken or something like that. But the food is like cheese trays and stuff like that. It's not like a regular sandwich or anything like that I remember anything like that was even available. And we're talking about a 4 or 5 hour flight sometimes, and just still not available. Just so keep that in mind. Make sure you eat at the airport. So that'll save you too, because cheese tray is like $12 or something ridiculous like that. It's kind of stupid. So they do charge for a carry-on. Okay, so and if you book it at the airport, you're gonna pay like a ridiculous fee. Like I'm gonna say, I don't know exactly what it was. It was like $90 or something like that to book it at the airport. Versus if you book it online, it's like 35, which is still steep. Okay, for a carry-on, but they also have a bagged package so that if you are required. So typically, I have to carry bags everywhere I go because I have to bring equipment with me. So I always have to bring a bag. I always have to have a check bag and a carry-on. So at least, or 2 check bags either way. If it's first class, I'll take two check bags. But if it's a carry-on, if I can only use 1 carry-on and 1 check bag, I can do it with that. So if you're one of those people too that needs to do that, they have a bag package that you can prepay for on their website. So you can put your itinerary in, even if you booked it somewhere else, I believe you can. And you can go on their website and prepay for the extra bag package. And I would highly recommend that if you were like me and you need to bring those bags, do that in advance. They also have a thing called checking in, which is just, to me, it's like just to check in and let them know you're still going to fly, whatever. And they charge you if you don't do that in advance. So if you get to the airport and you didn't check in, you can do it with your cell phone. Make sure you do that before you go to the counter, because if you go to the counter, you're going to pay an extra fee for that. So these are all the things that are all written in their website, and a lot of people ignore those things. But make sure if you book with Spirit that you go to that website and you read everything, because you can save some money. I'm not going to tell you that it's all bad. If you've got a short notice flight, you need to fly today, and you're going to get a way better rate than anywhere else you can go. And you get such a good rate, you probably get you could figure your rental car is going to be free. So, I mean, it's that cheap. So it can be really, really, really cheap, but it also can be really, really expensive. So let's say you did everything wrong. Let's say you went and you said, I don't want to pay the bag. I don't want to do any of this stuff in advance. I'm going to go to the airport. I'm going to pay for the bag when I get there. I'm going to do all the stuff I normally do with my other airline. You might pay more for the flight than you did with American. You might pay more for the flight than you did with United or with Delta by doing that. You have to take advantage and go to their website and read all this stuff, guys. It's so important that you do it. If you don't, you're going to pay way more going with Spirit. And then you'll be like, oh, that place is a ripoff. But it's really not if you read the fine print. If you read everything and you get to know what's all there, it can be your advantage. If you don't, if you ignore all that stuff and you wait till you get to the airport, you will be this word right here. You will be, what does that say? Write it down in the comment. Love to hear it. All right. Love to hear your comments on that. If you've flown Spirit, had a bad experience, please tell somebody. If you've flown them and had a good experience, let them know below. One of the things I did on one of the flights I was on for fun, love to hear your comments on this, is when I was on the plane, I had such a good deal. I mean, I literally was getting anywhere else I could book it, because I had to go short notice. It was going to cost me about $800 to $1,000 for one way, and it was costing me like $200 with Spirit because I got the bag package and the flight or something like that. It was $250, I think. So I was like saving so much money by using them that I actually bought food for everybody in my row. I said, whatever you guys want, it's on me. And everybody goes, what? Seriously, I was like, because I'm saving a lot of money. You guys don't have any idea what I usually make and stuff. So I just did that for fun. That was a great idea. Tell me about a good experience if you had something like that happen to you on Spirit. And maybe you're one of those people. They were shocked. They had no idea when I was going to do that. I just decided right at the last minute, oh, what the hell, why not? Let's live and have fun. Let's do something fun. That's the way I want to live my life. So that's what I do. All right, talk to you guys in the next video. Please like, share, and subscribe.